Welcome back to Shannons Club TV, the show for all motoring enthusiasts to reflect on road and race car histories in Australia.
You'll find a huge selection of previous episodes on the Shannons Club website, where you can also join the conversation with other members. Still to come, we'll meet a proud owner of our feature car and get a market update from the Shannons auctions team.
Right now though, the Aussie Fords that came close to an early exit from local production lines, the XK and XL Falcons.
In some respects, the first Ford Falcon harked back to Henry Ford's Model T. It was conceived as a budget-priced utilitarian machine with the same cabin space as the 1949 Ford Custom in a smaller body. But what worked beautifully in North America was less successful here on our rougher roads. Despite advertising claims that the XK Falcon, launched locally in September 1960, had been exhaustively tested in Australia, it hadn't. Early cars suffered from broken ball joints and had clutch problems. It was the last thing Ford Australia's executives needed as they tried to position the sleek-looking new car as a genuine rival to the all-conquering but dreadfully old-fashioned Holden. Fixes were soon found, but damage had been done to the car's reputation. Even so, it had some clear advantages over the Holden apart from its modern styling. The Falcon was lighter and used less fuel. The 144 cubic inch engine was marginally more powerful than the Holdens, but crucially, the Falcon was available with automatic transmission. Then, in mid-1962, buyers could specify the 170 cubic inch Pursuit engine. Mark, how did the XK Falcon cope with the rallycross track, which was what Phillip Island became in the Armstrong 500?
Well, it coped remarkably well. You know, a lot of people aren't aware that Falcons competed in all three of those Armstrong 500 races at the island, and not just in 1962 when they won. In the 1960 race, there were two privately entered XK Falcons, with one of them driven by Lou Molina and the future race winner Bob Jane. That car was actually running second outright at one stage until it tripped and rolled. And then in 1961, another XK finished second in class behind the winning Mercedes. So those results, given how rough and tough that circuit was, aren't really consistent with the car's fragile reputation at the time, are they?
Indeed.
Yeah.
Constant improvements were made during the XK's production run, and the trim-taut terrific XL, introduced within days of the EJ Holden range, was quite a well-sorted car. This was a clever facelift, with a new grille as convex as its predecessors had been concave. There was a new Thunderbird roofline with an almost flat rear window. Thunderbird-inspired style was a heading in the brochure. Mark, why did Ford choose the Cortina over the XL Falcon when the Armstrong 500 moved to Bathurst in 1963?
Well, that was basically Harry Firth spitting the dummy, I think. He said, you know, why are we battling with this car when we could move to the smaller, lighter, faster Cortina, after he'd tried everything he possibly could with the XK and XL Falcons in 1962. Ford was active with the XK in local rallying events in the early 1960s, as it tried to change perceptions that the new Falcon wasn't tough enough for Aussie roads. Although the XKs performed well, competition's boss Les Powell had international success in mind. He arranged for race and rally ace Harry Firth to prepare 5 XKs for the 1962 East African Safari, the world's toughest annual car rally. The 5,000 kilometre safari had a global reputation as hell on wheels, so success for the Aussie Falcons would pay big dividends back home. However, Firth was privately critical of the Falcon's shortcomings, claiming its drivetrain, suspension, brakes, steering and body strength were too fragile for Africa. Despite thorough preparation, 4 of the Aussie Falcons struck trouble, with Firth's car the only finisher in 16th place. Although Ford vowed to do better the following year, the Falcons did not return to Africa. John, perhaps, looking back, the Safari was biting off a little bit more than the embattled XK Falcon could chew at that time.
Well, when you think about the fact that it hadn't even really been tested in Australia, Africa was a major challenge.
I think what it shows, though, is Ford's desperation at the time. You know, like in that sense, overachieving. You know, just trying to really try and find themselves a headline of performance to try and sell this Falcon and tell Australia it was tough enough. I mean, going to Africa was just an extreme move.
And what they had to do really was wait for Bill Burke to come out from America and set up the XB durability run.
Which he did brilliantly.
Which he certainly did.
Yeah. The release of the much improved XL Falcon in 1962, with the option of a more powerful 170 Pursuit engine, gave Ford the confidence to back its first official entries in the annual Armstrong 500 at Phillip Island. As a warm-up, lead drivers and reigning champs Harry Firth and Bob Jane entered an XK Falcon in the Bathurst 6 Hour just 3 weeks before the Armstrong 500. However, it was not a good omen as the XK ran out of brakes and rolled, Firth lucky to escape uninjured. With the disintegrating Phillip Island circuit resembling a rallycross track, Firth hit a rough patch and also rolled one of the new XL Falcons during pre-race testing, requiring a new body shell from Ford and a rushed overnight rebuild. In the Armstrong 500, the new Falcons were well in control of their class, but the consistent speed of the Firth-Jane entry, combined with the Ford team's slick pit stops, ensured they were also in contention for first across the line honours, passing the leading Studebaker Lark on the second last lap. Those class and outright wins in 1962 were crucial in helping to save Ford's embattled Falcon. Remember, you can build your own virtual garage on the Shannons Club website.
My name's Rob Prusher and this is my 1960 XK Falcon. It's a manual, four-door sedan. It's a deluxe version, so it came with a little bit of extra stainless steel and the original 144 motor. Apart from a few modifications the original owner did, some side indicators, seat belts, the car is as it came out of the factory. It's a white vinyl with a red cloth and it's completely intact and it's just a stunning sort of colour combination. The car was bought by a Hungarian immigrant brand new in 1960. He bought it in New South Wales. His son sold the car to me, so I've had it now for 29 years. I'd say I'm more passionate about the age of the cars. The cars back then, every year were a different model. You always had a different shape, a different style, and things now are just generic. And it's more about the style of the car than the particular branding. I am a Shannons customer. I've been a customer for close to 20 years. I have the passion to repair cars, so I've got a number of cars with them. They've always been fantastic. My favourite memory of the car would be having it used in some film productions and some television commercials, so just having it out on set and seeing it on TV. I may look at selling it in the future, but I'm kind of hoping not to. I've had it for so long, but it may end up going on the market.
Tiny Hanson from Shannons Auctions joins us to bring us right up to speed on the XK and XL Falcons, the early birds. Welcome, mate.
Thanks, Mark.
Welcome, Tiny.
Thanks, John.
The XK Falcon, it was a very interesting car. It was the first car of the Holden Falcon size to be offered with an automatic transmission, and very late in its life, only months before the XL came out, we got the first optional larger engine, the 170 cubic inch Pursuit engine offered in the XK Falcon. Now, does that affect the values of those early cars? Is it better to get one with the bigger engine?
If you can find one with a bigger engine, for sure.
Because
that'd be quite rare, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, not too many of them.
Yeah. And the XL, when it came out, was actually a pretty good car. Not only a good car, an interesting range too, because we got the Futura and the Squire. What can you tell us about the Squire?
Well, my father actually had a brand new Squire back in the day. My younger son Michael's had quite a number of Squires as well. They are the pinnacle of that range, top of the range, if you could say.
That really shows some strong American influence, though,
It
wasn't
does.
it? Like, let's serve up the Australians a car with wood grain on the side and see how they
exactly
take
right,
to
yeah.
it. And they didn't really take to it.
It was overreach at that time. Just a bit too
was
much
too
American pie.
yeah.
But
But
now
now-
much sought after.
But now very sought after.
Yeah.
Very sought after.
The XL Falcon Tiny and the EJ Holden came out at the same time, and they both had a luxury variant, but the approach was very contrasting. Holden really conservative, automatic only, the Premier, with genuine Hale leather hide and a white steering wheel like a Mercedes. But the Futura, you could get the interior trim in any colour you liked, as long as it was garish red. Isn't that
Yes,
right?
correct. Red trim, red carpet, and some of the baser models had red rubber floor mats or vinyl floor mats.
And on the outside, white wall tyres, were they standard or optional?
That would have been standard.
Now, across XK and XL, we also had other models. We had station wagons, we had utilities,
Utes,
and,
vans.
and
Utes.
panel vans. I mean, wow! I mean, they are seriously rare. When was the last time you saw an early Falcon panel van?
They look like a wagon. They're the same roof
Same
line as
roof
a
line,
wagon.
yeah.
They just don't have the back doors or the back seat. And I can't remember the last time I actually saw a panel van on the road, to tell you the truth.
Speaking of roof lines, this is typical of the kind of marketing advantage Ford would enjoy under Bill Burke in the later part of the 60s, but they had a different roof line on the XL and different rear window from the XK. So it
Thunderbird.
really was a major... Yeah, the Thunderbird. that's
Thunderbird
right.
inspired,
The
yeah.
code name for the XK Falcon when it was being developed was the XK Thunderbird. So they actually put a bit more Thunderbird
yep.
into it with the XL range.
And you can see that through the red trim as well.
Yes, very interesting.
So, in terms of collectability, where do we start? Is the Falcon Squire wagon with the wood grain? Is that sort of
That
like
would be the pinnacle, I would
It would
imagine,
be,
for
wouldn't
sure.
it?
Yep.
Yeah. And then as we work our way down, what are we looking for?
Just a basic Four-door sedan
Yeah.
would be the lower
And
level.
the Futura, obviously,
in
over the
middle,
base model.
in amongst all that.
And if you can find a commercial that hasn't rusted away, that would
Good
be
luck.
a very valuable car.
Yes, it would be too, for
Good
sure.
stuff. Thanks, Tony.
No worries, guys.
And remember, for all the latest Shannons Auctions news, check it out on the Shannons Club website. If you'd like a memorable race image of the XK and XL Falcons, check out the huge archive at autopics.com.au. John, reflecting on the XK and XL Falcons, particularly the XK, you know, if this car hadn't had those durability problems, there would have been no contest against Holden back in 1960, would it?
Well, it would have been just dramatically better in
Yeah.
all respects because the Ford Australian management team chose the Falcon over the Zephyr Mark II-A that they were planning to build as a much more modern, almost a new generation car.
It was a great looking car. Who would have thought that though, with Falcon getting off to such a terrible start, that Ford Australia would have got stuck in and developed that car to such an extent that it really did become, as you say, the great Australian road car. That was a terrible start.
It's a deep paradox, actually, because it started off so badly,
Yeah.
they fixed it up and it became so good.
Yeah, sometimes those clouds have silver linings, don't they? Like
That's
you,
the
you
one.
get a situation where a car company is so desperate,
Yeah.
they go to enormous lengths to make sure that the car is fixed. And the end result is you get a fantastic car. And that's what they ended up
Absolutely
with
right.
Falcon.
They certainly did.
Yeah, it was interesting,
Yeah.
wasn't it? We hope you've enjoyed reflecting on the early Aussie Falcons, and we look forward to your company next time on Shannons Club TV. Bye for now.